I want us to look at the family reunion applications to Malta. What I believe the general meaning of this kind of visa, the requirement, the salary threshold, and the things I believe you can do should you meet or should you not meet the threshold. Let's discuss all this. Okay, all right. Welcome back to my channel. Let me quickly use this opportunity to say thank you again to my OG. Thank you for stopping by, and I appreciate all you guys did. Uh, Being part of my community, it's a big thing for me. I didn't take them for granted. And if you're seeing my face for the first time, probably you just stop by and you say, okay, this video pop up and you feel like checking it out. Welcome to my channel. My name is Joseph and this is J.O.S. Travel Abroad. About this family reunion, if I want to go by the definition, what is family reunion? This is a way like you bringing in your family to join you in Malta. It's more or less simple definition, simple language, dependent visa, just like they call it in the UK and other stuff. But the thing you should note is that student, if you're coming to Malta as a student, you cannot come in with a family. Now, from my own understandings of the meaning of the family reunification, is family reunifications to Malta. From my own understandings, the criteria, the things that you are to do, requirement before you can bring in your dependent. I now understand from that perspective, this is why it seems it become difficult for students to bring in the dependent while they're coming to study immediately. Yes, the condition attached to it is why, if not, it should have been that students are naturally bringing the dependents. Now, let's highlight what are the conditions. One, he said you must have been living in Malta for 1 year, at least like you're living in Malta for 12 calendar months, that is for 1 year. And then you know that if you enter Malta as a student, you apply for your resident card, that is you have a legal resident permit and that you've stayed in Malta for at least 1 year. But you know when you apply, as a student, you apply for a resident card, it's renewed on a yearly basis in case you're doing 2, 3 years program or 18 months. Then, so guess what? It means if you actually stayed on your residence, now this is from my understandings of that definition. It means if you actually stayed 1 year entered your temporary resident card, you should have actually been able to bring in a dependent. But the reason why you cannot do it is not based on that this condition. It is based on the other condition, which of course you cannot meet as a student. That's why it's kind of then become reasonable. Yeah, it's meaningful to say when you're done with school, this is when you probably will be qualified to bring in a dependent. This because there is a threshold, salary threshold for you to really meet up with that requirement. Now, what is this salary threshold for you to bring in that? In fact, it was updated. Pardon me if you see me look down and while I'm trying to maybe I'm looking at something there, I'm working based on the point that I listed at, and from at least to list it out, you can see these things yourself, even from the website of Identita. Now, the salary threshold, I just discovered that it has been updated recently, I think July this year, 2024. They kind of update that information on Identity website. Because at first, when I was discussing with one of my friends who happens to be a student of another school, that you can bring in your family since you are coming here for a master's. I realized that I think what I sent to him was if you're earning between 18,200 something, but now it is 18,000 um 940s. I want to really quickly look. It was recently updated I think on the 12th June 2024, and the salary threshold is 18,940. That is what it means. 18,940 is the threshold. Let me quickly draw attention to this. If you divide this by 12, they said gross employment income. Gross employment income. I want to draw attention to some of these things. The gross employment income, meaning the total money you earn on that monthly basis minus they've not worked on the tax. Now it is taxable. The one that is still taxable where the tax will be taken is not net now, gross employment income. So it simply means if you look at it divided by 12, it is about 1,570 something monthly. That is what they are looking at. But the disposable income should be superior to this amount. That is what it means. If the threshold is 18,940, logically, you are expected to have money, disposable income should be more than that as at the time of your application. So you should not depend on just maybe when you're earning the 1,570 in a month, at least let it be a little bit above so that you probably, once they calculate your total gross income, it should be between maybe 21, 20, 21, 22 will be fine. If this one is talking about 18,000 something, it's good to work with around 20K, 21K. So that is superior, it's more than that threshold. You will be on the safer side. And then the condition of that um, gross employment income, what they will be putting into consideration, take note of this too. It says it could be the cross employment, how you the condition is actually not cross employment, it's talking about source of income. Having a stable source of income is the condition for you to bring them in to defend that threshold, stable source of income. And under the stable course of income, it could be your gross employment income, and the condition says that they would actually consider your overtime payment if it is consistent, at least. Your overtime payment could be considered if it is consistent for like 6 months or more. That means if you're that type that is earning money and they know that every month there is this extra money you can make, and it has been stable like that. That money has been consistent like that. Every month you make this extra money, extra or this overtime, then it will be taken into consideration in addition to that, your gross employment, another. What this simply means is that maybe your normal basic salary was like 1.4, but it's also sure that at the end of that month, despite the 1.4 on paper as your basic gross income monthly 1.4, other money is coming in that is confirmed that every month you get additional to 200 to 200 or to 250 euro extra every month in addition to that. They need to be considered, provided these things are also registered to the Revenue Commission, Commissioner for Revenue. They are whatever. What I would deduce or take out of this one is that I'm trying to say that if you probably, Malta has that allowance where you can do full-time job and another part-time job, and then you register both secondary permit and the single permit, which that give you both the resident status and work permit. So it means if you have a normal full-time job that is giving you basic of 1.4, and then luckily for you, you have and secondary extra work part-time job somewhere else that's giving you 250 euro, I believe you are qualified because both are actually registered with Job Plus, and this is altogether a source of income defined, and they are stable after 6 months. So this simply means that 1,000 see something or so by 12, it's more than that threshold. So you're qualified to bring in a family. Because under the stable source of income, they added different kind of allowance, like maybe renting, revenue from renting, maybe you have properties that's generating interest on some kind of dividend, some kind of allowance, child allowance, all basic stuff, all these things are there. And it also boiled down to third country nationals who are probably not a permanent resident yet. Okay. So the condition really is not applicable to those who have free movement in EU. What does this simply mean? If you're a permanent resident somewhere like in Malta already and all that, you will not be asked to go through definitions of proving these steps, these things. No, no, that's what that means. As a permanent resident, you should just be able to apply directly. And another people again that would be exempted from 1 year resident permit status is that, let's imagine you come here as a direct employee, you get a direct employment as a third country national, and the direct employment is fall under the specialist employee initiative. This kind of jobs that gives you huge income, annual gross incomes. That those ones, provided they have their single permit, they've applied for their single permit, and their salary threshold is equal or more than 50,000 euro per year. 50,000 euro per year, which is meant for them and one dependent. So if this person is EKY employee or specialist employee initiatives person who has applied for their temporary residence and have that already, yes, called single permit and have that already. And the salary threshold is proving that it is going to be 50,000 euro per year. That means they can come in with one dependent. But if they are going to be bringing in additional dependent apart from that one dependent they are allowed to come in with, they don't need to stay up to 1 year period for them to do that. It means so far they just have that permit, they apply before their permit elapse. They don't need to stay up to 1 year period. Those are the people that are waived, that are exempted from continuous staying in Malta for 1 year. If you now want to bring in additional dependent apart from that one, you'll be showing adding 60,000 euro each extra for each other dependent. Okay. Coming back to the threshold is not saying you should have the 18,940 euros or 20,000 euro in your account as at the time of application. It simply means this is your gross earning. This is what your source of income, the total money you expect to be making every year. But as at the time of submitting application, you will have 20% of that in your account while for each dependent you are bringing in. I'm not talking of those that are under the waiver, another 50, that specialist employees kind of. These people that are normal general person, if you are going to now apply for that your dependent to come with you and you meet up with the threshold salary, as at the time of application, you should have 20% of 18,940. Give or take, we are looking at 3,000 something because 10% of that is about 1,800 and something, right? We're looking at 3,000 something. Let's just say 3, 5 or 4K. So for one dependent, you expect to have 20% of that, which is 4,000 for one dependent. Let me say it's not up to 4,000. Let's just peg it for 4K. 4,000 for one dependent, second dependent, let's say 4,000, third dependent, 4,000. So if you now want to bring in three people, you expected to at least show that kind of amount, maybe 8,000 or 12,000 in your account, closing balance, as at the time you are making that application, and they prove that you have stayed in Malta for a period of 1 year while you're applying. So where I now come back, let me quickly take it back to where I said students who have this temporary residence for 1 year probably would have been able to apply if you have stayed for Malta for more than 1 year in a resident card. But how can you prove a source of income when you are doing 20 hours per week job officially? You are supposed to do 20 hours per week job. Which employer is going to pay you as high as 1,600 as a part-time? It must be huge. Oh. So that's kind of not possible because even if you are getting a job as high as 10 euro, officially you are supposed to say you are getting 200 euro per week. If your salary is 10 euro per hour, it's 200 euro per week times 4 is 800. Are you anywhere near? No, now. So regardless, even if you are getting 15 euro per hour for one special job, which is huge, I know for sure, possible somehow. Let's say possible 15 euros times 20 is 300. 3 times 4 is 1,200. Is it near? No. Basically, from my own understanding point of view, as a student, you're not even supposed to bother about that. Finish your school, get your professional job, then bring in your dependent when you're working professionally. Then what are the conditions, other conditions to meet if you want to bring them in? Once you meet all those requirements, your own is to write, the letter of you submitting the required document is a request letter. You'll be the one to apply, write a request letter to bring that you want to bring your dependent in, the duration of stay that they want to stay, maybe that also will connote with how long you're staying, and then the relationship to prove it, which is, I believe, those that are key here to bring in as your family member, your spouse. Then you will show proof of that union, your marriage certificate and all that. Then children that are less than 18, or even those that you adopt, show a genuine adoption document to prove that matches with the adoption procedure of Malta and that are unmarried. So even they are your dependents that are less than 18, one way or the other, yeah, show proof. So these are the people you show. Then you apply. You should get your decision within 60 days. And if they didn't approve it, they will tell you within 60 days. That's according to the information on the website. But also, when that decision is applied, if they now need to come in on a visa, I think it is with the decisions and those other documents, they will go to the embassies of probably of Malta, the identitar in your own country to now apply for the temporary resident, the visa, Schengen visa to come in. As soon as they arrived in Malta, you call, according to the rule, you call identitar for them to be issued a temporary resident permit that matches their status, which is the temporary resident permit now will not be the permit that is equivalent for a family reunification. Get that? What does this mean is that this person getting that family, the temporary permit as soon as they enter, it does not automatically guarantee or qualify them to work. It's now like you know how it is for us. When you come in as a student, you apply for a temporary resident card as a student, which but their owner is not a temporary resident card as a family member of the sponsor, family reunification temporary resident card. So for them to work, they have to do change of status to apply for single permit. You know, full-time work permit is a single permit application that carry both work permit and resident permit. That's single permit. Is what you apply for when I do full-time work. But so you get a permit that is a combination of a permit allowance to work and allowance to stay. That's what most of these European countries are doing now. Almost all the permit they get, they call it single permit. Then once your single permit is approved, that's because while you apply for your single permit with identity, they will also relate, communicate with Job Plus. Once that your permit is out, then before you start working, your employer will now register that job with Job Plus. Again, that you start your so jobless without this person is now working full time, but they are aware of the work permit and the this thing, just like the way despite having your student resident temporary resident permit, you still have to register with Job Plus to work as a part time. Same way, despite having the single permit, they still have to register them with Job Plus before you start working. You are not supposed to work before the permit is issued. No. And another thing to take note is that if your family members, your dependent is already in Malta at the time you are applying for this family reunification, it is inadmissible. They will not approve that. Your family member is not supposed to be in, you and your family member is not supposed to be inside Malta while you're applying for that. So please take note of this. They are supposed to be outside. So it's whether they are outside when they apply or you just do something else entirely to apply, not family reunification. So take note. Then instead of all this, I've said enough about the kind of the benchmark and all that. The other requirement I think I did not mention while you're approving the union between you and the dependents and coming in. When you meet up with this threshold and having a disposable income that is superior to the threshold, you know what I mean by that. Your salary is more than this threshold. The thing you have to show to prove that you have met the requirement is 6 months pay slip that will carry the proof of maybe your gross earning, your overtime that has been consistent for the 6 months. So you need 6 month pay slip. What does this simply entails? Let's quickly analyze this together again. This simply means that by the time, let's say you are a student, an international student, once you finish your school and luckily you're applying for your work permit, work permit usually take 4 months. It's official too on the website. It usually take 4 months. This means that you need to have you need to wait for your work permit to come and within 4 months time. Once you get it, then they register you with job. You start working. So it simply means you would have to wait for at least additional 6 months or more before you can then apply for that your family. I'm saying this only because let's say you are coming through that part of a student because you have resided, like you stayed in Malta for more than a year based on your program. So definitely you have stayed in Malta continuously. And now your temporary status is changing from under sponsorship of school to work. But you wait for your work to come out and then you now have to apply. What do you think? Or better still, I think that even might not fly because as soon as you change your status from your student to your work, everything about that temporary resident you have on your job cancelled. Everything has to start fresh on the work. It simply means you just have to apply for your work permit. You get your work permit, work for 1 year. By the time you work for 1 year on that your residence card, then you can then probably apply for your family reunion after 1 year as a full-time worker. This is just the best and easiest ways to do it. The reason will be that because as soon as you get that your work permit after graduation, which will come out 4 months after. It is on a 1 year basis to renewable. Then, as soon as that card comes in, you do the 1 year. So by the time you are using, before you even renew, by the time you are renewing your card, before you renew your card, it's possible that you can apply for that family to come in because in the process of that full time 1 year you did, there's a tendency you have the proof of that 6 month pay slip in between. You can show it. And that your resident card of 1 year is enough to have showed that you stayed 1 year. So 1 year and they pay months 6 months. So almost while you are even renewing your temporary residence before it expires, so you probably could have submitted for um your family dependent to join you. So I believe ideally just wait for 1 year after you have converted, and so you can apply. So those that do not need to wait for that 1 year is those that are under the EKY or the Specialty Employment Initiative, where their salary is high as 50,000 per year. Then they can just, once they maybe whether they are students here before or direct employment from outside, and the salary is 50,000 per annum. So once they apply, 4 months, their single permit is out, they have the single permit, they can just go straight and apply for that dependence because they are earning as high as 50,000 per year. Those one does not have to wait to do 1 year inside that their card. That's what we should understand. So, is there any other thing? These are just the basic things. So you see, please take note of those that are exempted, maybe on the permanent resident card, or those that are not going to stay 1 year. If your salary is as high as 50K, you can bring in only one dependent. But if you have two dependents, then show a proof of additional six thousand euro, which is going to be 56,000 euro, is what you need to show if you're not going to bring in two dependent. Understand? Otherwise, probably you stay the normal 1 year and do the normal process. So let me stop here. Thank you. This video is long enough, but please take your time to go through it and you will be able to understand. There's this clue I want to give you idea on how to bring in your family. We can explore two ways. Even as a student, we can explore two ways how to bring in your family as a student to Malta, and or how to meet that threshold on time to bring in your dependent to Malta. But I don't think I'll be able to explain that here. So let's just do a separate videos on the pathway or the ways to bring your dependent to Malta through family reunifications. Until then, thank you for watching and bye till we meet. Ciao.